Team, good morning. Welcome to the P10 Ice Daily Show. Happy Thursday morning. I hope your morning is off to a fantastic start. My name is Alan. I'm happy to be your host today. Currently have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Operating Officer here at the Institute of Clinical Excellence and a faculty member in our Fitness Athlete Division. We're here on Leadership Thursday. We talk all things practice management, small business ownership. Leadership Thursday means it is Gut Check Thursday as well. This week's Gut Check Thursday is a little test. Cooper's test. In fact, this was a test created way back in 1968 by an Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Kenneth Cooper. He was a doctor in the Air Force, and he wanted to figure out how to start to objectively assess the aerobic fitness of our military personnel, the Army and the Air Force, way back in 1968. This test is great. It has been studied a lot. It has a lot of normative data behind it. Very kind of similar to the 6-minute walk test that we use in the clinic with a lot of our patients to assess aerobic capacity. This is a 12-minute max distance run. Basically, how far can you run in 12 minutes? So set a timer. The idea behind this test is that you would run it on a track, or you would otherwise just basically run 12 minutes in a straight line. You don't want to end up running maybe in the CrossFit parking lot or the neighborhood where you have to turn and stop a lot. You really want to be able to pick up speed and stay at speed as long as possible. So make sure you're on a track. Make sure you're doing maybe 6 minutes out, 6 minutes back, or maybe 12 minutes straight out and then come on back with a walk. And then if you're on a treadmill, make sure you have the grade at 1% to imitate kind of the uneven nature of outdoor pavement. And then that's it. Figure out how far you ran in either meters or miles. There's some equations in the Instagram post to calculate, predict your VO2 max based on how far you ran. And then we've posted some normative tables as well. So this is a great test for ourselves. This is a great test for our athletes or patients as well to see how we stack up. So figure out Cooper's test. Yes, you can row it, you can bike it. Just be mindful that those are unloaded assessments of aerobic fitness, so they don't quite translate directly to running. But as long as you retest under the same parameters, have at it with a bike or row as well. Courses coming your way related directly to Leadership Thursday. Brick by Brick, our practice management startup course starts again September 12th. That course just has one seat left. That's taught by yours truly. We cover everything you'll need to know about starting your physical therapy practice, literally from step one of all the legal paperwork you'll need to figure out and file to get started. And then we get a little bit more into what it actually looks like to open and begin your practice. So that starts September 12th, one seat left. And then live courses, I want to focus today on total spine thrust manipulation, taught by our instructors Justin Dunaway, Jesse Witherington, and Britt Lodeman. We have a couple courses coming your way through the end of the year. September 9th and 10th, you can join Jesse down in Clearwater, Florida. September 16th and 17th, you can join Britt out in Chicago. September 23rd and 24th, Jesse again will be on the road, this time in St. Mary's, Georgia, kind of down in the southeast corner of Georgia by Savannah. October 7th and 8th, 2 chances to catch total spine thrust, either in Columbia, South Carolina with Jesse, or in Hendersonville, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville with Justin Dunaway. November 4th and 5th, Jesse will be out on the West Coast, Simi Valley, California. And then 2 chances again in November before the end of the year, November 18th and 19th. Britt will be on the road in Santa Rosa, California, this time Northern California, and Jesse will be in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So total spine thrust coming your way. Today, let's talk about this topic. So I do have some research to share with you regarding this topic, but I really want to talk about the top 3 things I think I've been wrong about so far in my career. So we're going to talk about what it looks like to treat a comprehensive plan of care with a patient. We're going to talk about technology, and we're going to talk about long-term changes to the healthcare system. So I want to start with talking about the kind of back and forth dogmatic guru battles that we see all day long on social media of manual therapy sucks, it doesn't do anything, you shouldn't do any manual therapy, if you do manual therapy, you're committing malpractice. And then the far other side of that same continuum of if that's exercise only, then the belief that manual therapy is the only thing we do that matters, that we can somehow cure or fix patients with our hands, with our dry needling, our cupping, our spinal manipulation, whatever stuff we do with our hands. So 2 different kind of camps fighting and barking at each other on social media. And then talking about the research supporting one side or the other, or both, or neither. So what I've realized, and keep in mind, I'm coming from a point where I have sat in both of these camps at different points in my career, of coming into school as a background as an exercise physiologist, of having no way and no knowledge of how to put my hands on people because I was an exercise physiologist. So my intervention, the only intervention allowed to me, was exercise. So coming into grad school with a belief that exercise is medicine, as taught by the American College of Sports Medicine, and that exercise is the way that creates the long-term fix, and that manual therapy has no value. So I certainly sat in that camp in the beginning of my PT school career. And then I've sat in the other side of the camp as well, getting into PT school, learning more about manual therapy residencies and fellowships, and diving really deep into the weeds, especially behind spinal manipulation and dry needling, and going to the other side of manual therapy is one of the most robust tools we can offer, and a little bit of exercise maybe at the end for the patient to keep up their progress in between, but being very heavily in the manual therapy camp and holding the previous belief that maybe folks who are in the exercise only camp are there just because they're not that good at manual therapy. So I certainly held that belief for a while. Now I would say I'm in neither camp, and maybe not even in the middle, of coming to the belief of the unfortunate belief that we just can't talk or exercise patients into better lifestyle choices, no matter how much we have the answer of some sort of combination of both. Maybe one more than the other is needed for our patients, depending on who they are and where they're at in kind of their health and fitness journey. And this can be maybe, I think, the most frustrating part of being a physical therapist and being a healthcare provider in general, of knowing the answer, right? Of knowing that exercise and a solid nutrition plan go a very long way into helping you become and stay a healthy, fit individual, but that from time to time, some hands-on treatment is needed. So knowing the answer, walking the path, but really, unfortunately, not being able to just give that to another person, especially maybe a patient that at the beginning of their plan of care has no formal relationship with us yet. I myself have an unshakable belief that I will continue to probably encounter some minor musculoskeletal injuries within lines of statistical norms due to the impossible ability to balance a lot of different things, essentially balancing workload versus recovery. There's going to be days where I don't sleep enough. There's going to be days where I don't eat enough. There's going to be days where maybe my training volume is higher than I wanted it to be. My overall life volume is going to be higher than I wanted to. And otherwise, I put myself at a greater risk for an injury, and sometimes will actually encounter an injury. So I believe that is just part of the journey of health and fitness. I also have an equally unshakable belief that the current meat suit that my brain sits in has been evolving and adapting to stress for over 2 million years, and that it's a naturally resilient structure that's capable of healing itself from most injuries. Maybe not a car accident or getting hit by a bus, but certainly encountering some shoulder pain or knee pain in the gym or out on the run or something like that. So that's what I believe, but it is hard to transfer that to another person. That my third unshakable belief is that it does not matter how much I trust my own body, how much I believe that the body can heal itself. I can't just take that belief from my brain and put it into somebody else's brain, no matter how much I want that to happen, no matter how much I talk to that patient in front of me. We just can't talk people better. We can't talk people into better lifestyle choices. We kind of have to show them, and that can come from a couple of different angles. That can come from having them do some manual therapy techniques, maybe even self-manual therapy techniques that helps alleviate their own symptoms to help connect that stress recovery adaptation cycle, maybe some exercises, or maybe both. But otherwise, we do need to show people that this thing that I've been wrong about is that seeing is believing, and 99% of people can't be talked better. The interesting thing is we have more and more research supporting this now. We have some fantastic articles coming out of the pain neuroscience education space that support this, that we cannot just talk people better. We cannot talk people out of pain. We cannot talk people into being healthier. We have to show them, both by our own example, but also by them seeing the success as well. And part of that comes from showing them some sort of change, manual therapy, exercise based, doesn't matter, whatever you think the patient needs, so they begin to buy into, I'm not broken. I'm resilient. My body can fix itself. I don't need surgery. I don't need an MRI. I don't need pills. But that we can't just talk that person better. Really fantastic article, if you have not read it yet, by Shala and colleagues, 2021, the Journal of Manual and Manipulative Therapy. saying that same thing. Literally, the title of the paper is Can We Talk Patients Better? And the conclusion is no, we can't. That we need to combine these things, and that the most successful interventions for pain are multimodal. They involve, yes, education, discussion of sleep and diet, but they do also involve manual therapy, and they do also involve exercise. It's everything together, it's and not or. Most physical therapy studies, if you read the methodology, if you read the inclusion and exclusion criteria, and if you read and find out in these papers why they initially studied 1,000 people, but only 760 people completed the study, what happened to those other people? Well, yes, people get busy. Yes, people get injured or whatever else, they drop out of the study. But in a lot of these studies, folks drop out because they're not getting better. They are maybe even going to get care somewhere else outside of the research study, which you can imagine creates a lot of confounding variables that makes us need to exclude that person's data from the study. There's a lot of really cool research now looking at that, of that if we do not offer hands-on care, there seems to be a subpopulation of people who will leave our care and go get it somewhere else. That if you try to talk somebody better and you say, I am not going to do anything hands-on because I'm going to make you addicted to manual therapy, there are people who will leave your clinic and immediately go get a massage or go see a chiropractor or maybe go see another physical therapist. They will go get the care they think they need somewhere else, sometimes immediately after your appointment. And we need to be cognizant of that. Likewise, there are people who believe that if there's nothing hands-on, as far as doing exercise, of them being hands-on, that the therapy has less value. And likewise, they will leave your clinic and go get extra care somewhere else. So we need to be cognizant of that as well. I think often of I get my haircut every 3 weeks on Thursday afternoon. I see the same stylist. I've seen her for years now. She has had what I believe to be a pretty gnarly case of Achilles tendinopathy from overdoing it, increasing run volume. I've seen her progression of having a soft brace on to having a walking boot to now having a full cast on, of chasing down what she thinks is going to help her in the healthcare system, even though she talks to me for about an hour every 3 weeks. And I try to talk about anything I can to get her to try literally anything else except pills and casting and surgery and imaging. And she still won't come down to my clinic to see me, even though I've offered to treat her for free. If I cannot take the beliefs in my mind and put them in somebody else's mind, they have to come, unfortunately, to that conclusion on their own. So being wrong about being able to talk people better, about being able to exercise people better, and more understanding and recognition as my career has gone on, that I need to recognize that every single person who comes into the clinic is different. They have different beliefs, and I need to recognize what those are and address them accordingly. Some people may need to start with a bunch of front-loaded physical therapy. Some people may not like to be touched at all. They don't want to do any manual therapy. They only want to do exercise and maybe some sort of blend for folks in between. The second thing I've been wrong about is technology. If you know me, you probably have the belief in your mind that I am the biggest nerd you've ever met, and I'm okay with that. I grew up playing World of Warcraft. You can find me in my limited spare time, probably trying to sneak in a video game or two every now and again. So I am certainly a giant fan of technology. But as my career has gone on, as I've gotten older, I now have the belief that I think technology creates more problems than it solves. The previous point was a great example of we would probably not have these dogmatic arguments and be so fervent in these different camps if we did not have technology to use to yell at each other from across the planet. That the computer, the internet, the mobile device, the whatever you're using has revolutionized humanity, maybe for the better, but I think nowadays more bad than good. That having access to all the combined knowledge of our species is amazing, but also being a button push or a click away from constant contact with friends, family, frenemies, work, whatever, can be really bad for us, especially our mental health. Of maybe you're this person, maybe you are the spouse of this person or a friend of this person, of that person who says, "Did you see what so and so just posted?" This person is my wife in our relationship, of getting really upset at what other people put on social media and kind of letting it ruin your day. And I think that happens a lot in modern society. I think back to a question that I was asked very, very early on. And again, I used to have the belief that more technology was better, that we could talk other practitioners into better practice habits if we just argued with them on social media, if we yelled at them on Twitter. And about 9 years ago, Jeff Moore saw me in an argument on Twitter and just sent me a simple message that said, "Hey, do you think this is the best use of your time to advance the profession of physical therapy?" And obviously, probably most things in our life, if we ask ourselves that question, is this the best use of my time? The answer is probably no. But definitely to that question, the answer was no, definitely not. And so I often ask myself that question a lot. And what I've found over the years is that question and that answer to that question takes me further and further away from engaging a lot on social media. If you follow my social media now, you see pictures of my son in my workouts, and that's pretty much it, right? By far and large, disengaged from physical therapy social media as a whole. I don't listen to any podcasts anymore. I listen to the news in the car and music when I work out, and that's pretty much it. So I've pushed technology away as I've gone through my career, as I've gone through my life, and I think I'm the better for it. And I think having access to all of the gadgets that come along with technology is really doing us a disservice as well. I used to be a big proponent of Whoop. If you've listened to us here before, if you've come to our fitness athlete classes, you've heard us talk about Whoop and other devices like that. And likewise, I think those cause more harm than good. That having a constant stream of data letting us know you're not moving enough. Hey, you need to move. You need to exercise. You're not eating enough. You're not eating right. You're not eating enough. You're not sleeping enough. You're drinking too much. You're overeating this specific type of food. I think those constant technological inputs into our life really set us up for a lot of unhappiness, of folks who look at a Whoop and think, what if my resting heart rate is high because I had a beer last night? What if it's low because I underate? What if my respiratory rate is high because I'm sick? What if I have COVID-19? What if I have COVID-23? What if I put strawberries up my butt? Would my fart smell better? Like, we can what if this stuff to death. And I think we are doing that with our technology. That I do think there is a subpopulation of people who have to see that data, that have to see Whoop say, hey, every time you report drinking 2 or more beers, you have an 18% reduction in your sleep quality. I do think there is a group of people who need to be smacked in the face with that realization of, again, they can't be told that by somebody else, a friend or a family member. They have to be shown that objective empirical data. But I also think there's an equal subpopulation of people who will go completely insane festering about that stuff, of worrying themselves to death about, what does this data mean? I shouldn't exercise today. Maybe I ate so wrong. My resting heart rate, my HRV is messed up. I'm just going to fast today, or I'm not going to work out for a week. And they literally what if themselves to death about this stuff until probably the end result is that most of those people just ditch the gadgets. I no longer wear a Whoop. I haven't worn one for many, many years. I have a pretty neat Casio G-Shock. This is a solar-powered watch. Its only thing it does is tell time. And then I have a Fitbit, which tracks my steps. I try to hit 25,000 steps a day. And that's it, right? I have no access to any sort of heart rate data or sleep data, and I think I'm all the better for it. So I think technology is really doing a disservice. And I think the more we can intentionally disconnect from some of these data streams and communication streams, we will find that we're a lot happier for doing so. My third belief is maybe a little bit pessimistic, that I think unless something considerable changes with the American healthcare system, I think the way that our healthcare system currently works is not going to alter significantly, at least in our lifetimes. That when we step back and zoom out and look at how a lot of stuff in our life is run, they're run by for-profit companies. The power company is a for-profit company. The internet company is a for-profit company. The healthcare clinic company is a for-profit company. The insurance company is a for-profit company. So we need to ask ourselves, are we just victims of people trying to maximize profit? And that's why we can't really seem to get ahead in a lot of big system changes. And I think the answer to that question is yes. That 70% of all Americans still get their health insurance through their employer. So they receive health insurance from a for-profit employer that's run by a for-profit agency, the insurance company, that uses that insurance at a for-profit healthcare company. So it's no wonder that we are trying to keep margins really narrow, high profit, low expense, and at the end result, the person that suffers is usually the healthcare provider and the patient, while the overarching organizations post record profit after record profit year after year after year. That both the input and output sides of the system have a vested interest in minimizing costs and maximizing profit. And at some point, we need to acknowledge and recognize that. We also need to recognize and acknowledge that with some exception, healthcare providers are really uninvolved or minimally involved with the ownership and management, usually of the business that they work for. Insurance companies are led by corporate executives, and large healthcare systems are also led by corporate executives. And if we look who sits in the leadership positions of a lot of these companies, they're not healthcare providers. They are investment bankers, venture capitalists, that sort of thing. They're interested in profit. And it really starts to explain, and I hope that this doesn't come off as a conspiracy theorist, of why our outcomes are so poor despite how expensive our healthcare system is. And that we really need to see big system changes if we're really going to make a dent in the issues that we have, which is 90% of humans are sedentary, 70% of Americans have chronic pain, and we seem to be going backwards despite how hard we get up and go to work ourselves individually every day. What do those changes need to look like? I don't know. I'm not a big picture person. I'm kind of a logistics person. But I think that's kind of the frustration that we all experience day to day of, yes, our individual patients are getting better, but why are we still seeing people who got a knee replacement 2 days after going to see a provider about knee pain? Why have they not tried physical therapy first? Why have they not tried literally anything else first except getting booked right into surgery? We feel those frustrations. We wonder where those are coming from. And it's no surprise. I think it comes from our giant for-profit healthcare system as a whole. So 3 things I've been wrong about. Been wrong about being on one side of the fence or the other, the belief that we can talk or fix somebody with our hands or just help them with exercise only, that we can take the beliefs in our mind about our bodies and the proper plan of care, at least in our mind, and put that into somebody else's brain. Been wrong about leveraging maybe too much technology, especially both in personal and professional life, and been wrong about the belief of really creating long-term systemic change in the healthcare system. So I'd love to hear what you've been wrong about. I'd love to hear questions, comments, discussion about this topic as well. I hope you all have a fantastic Thursday. Have fun with Cooper's test. If you're going to be at a live course this weekend, enjoy yourself. Other than that, have a great Thursday. Bye, everybody.